So how does it feel to watch yourself cry?
How does it feel to watch myself cry? I don't know. I feel like a little bit removed from it because it was such a it was such a long time ago. I guess it was shot about a year and a half ago now. Yeah, and so as I was watching it and watching myself cry, I was thinking very different thoughts than I was thinking at the time. Because as you hear me say, I do a kind of a little bit of an after process of why I cried. And today, while I was watching it, I was kind of thinking, well, that's not so much how I feel now. And how I feel now is more like how Sadie was saying. I really think like, Skyler, you put so much pressure on yourself. What the fuck were you thinking when you made this film? And I really didn't think it at that moment. I really, I went into the film telling everyone on the surface like, oh, I don't care what happens. It can turn out however it turns out. Maybe I will chicken out. You know, I'm not sure. But I think in that moment, I see now, I was really putting a lot of pressure on myself. I was really, even though I was telling everyone, I don't care how it turns out. Inside, I think I was telling myself, "You're going to do this, Skyler. You got to do this, and this is kind of going to be finally it. And when you put the cameras on yourself, then you'll have the pressure and the motivation, and you'll be able to do it finally." What? Who? What? I think I've grown a lot in the last year and a half. But I don't regret making the film because I think it's important anyway.
Do you know why you cried in the film? Like, do you remember?
A lot of reasons, and I think some of them I said in the film. Like, it was true that how I said I felt moved, I felt touched when Sadie reached out for my hand. I felt really like I just went through all of the situations in my head where in the past where people like partners of mine had pressured me about being penetrated. Where I was made to feel like, oh, how can you not want to be penetrated? Oh, you're just having problems. Oh, you should just stick a few tampons in yourself and then you'll learn. And so many, and these were partnerships with women. These were lesbian partnerships usually. And I went through all of these in my head, and I thought, and I was just so touched that someone was being like kind to me and understanding of the fact that like, no, penetration is not everyone's thing, and you're trying, but like and I think that really moved me, and really touched me to feel that, and and also Sadie and I had been dating, and we'd broken up 3 days before the shoot, and then I'd been like, oh no, do I have to call it off? And then I was like, no, we can do this, and and it was really nice, and I felt like I think like making this film actually helped us move. So I've never moved so quickly from dating to friendship, but I think because it was such an emotional tie, it was like super easy because I felt super bonded to her in a friendship way after this. So yeah, but that's also, I'm like, oh, I wonder if the film would have been different if I hadn't had this breakup right before it, if I wouldn't have cried. But no, I think there was a lot of things going into the crying and not just that. So yeah.
Do you guys have any questions? Or do people have any questions?
Yeah.
Here's the question, I think, on this side.
Okay. We'll go Bear and Wyatt.
I've seen both your films now, Helen to me as well. And there's a little bit of vulnerability there, but this was huge. Like, all your guts laid open. Why would you, what's behind wanting to show everybody you know and random strangers too something so hugely vulnerable?
Yeah, I think we were talking about this a little bit before, that I've realized, I think in the process of making both of these films, that I'm an exhibitionist, and a very specific type of exhibitionist. I'm an emotional exhibitionist, and I really like to lay my guts out. I don't know why exactly, but I do. I think I feel seen when I spill everything to the world. And I think it really happened. It started when I was in Toronto in 2000 and maybe 2005. I remember starting to do spoken word at this little cafe, and I was really nervous, and I got up to do my first piece, and it was some rhymey, rappy style kind of piece, and all the other people were doing this sophisticated, very poetic, like, and I was like, oh my god, my piece was just so childish. It was like A-B rhyme scheme, and there was this older man who got up, who came to me afterwards, and he said, like, keep doing what you're doing, because what you do is you're like honest, and he was like, just keep doing that. And I think that really, like, because that was my beginning to do any kind of artistic work, I think it kind of influenced me, and I always stuck with that, with just like, do what you know your feelings, you know better than anything else, like, you know you, and yeah.
I don't have a question so much as I just wanted to thank you for your vulnerability and sharing so much of yourself. That was really amazing.
Pleasure. My pleasure is anytime.
Is there any more questions? Okay.
Yeah, but I have a question, but also I think this goes in a tradition of like feminist activism and work, that like the personal is political, and it's like, so it's not about you as an individual, but I think a lot of us share this stuff, so it's also just real stuff, and that's so it's I don't think this is like personal. I think it's like super political. But my question was about the lightening. Actually, it was very light on the. It was very. How did you think about setting the lights for the scene?
Oh my
the
god,
sex scene?
I cannot take any responsibility for the lights. That was all the person who was the DOP, and she was really taking care of lights, and we talked before, because I was like, maybe like a leopard print blanket and some, I don't know what, I wanted something red, and she was like, no, let's go white, just everything white, like representing this virgin purity, and I was like, okay, whatever, like I'm not an aesthetics person, I'm an emotional person, so I let her take care of the aesthetics, and I took care of all the emotional. And that's how it worked. So,
I think you're one of the bravest person I've ever seen. Did this movie, I mean, you've done more exhibitions things before apparently, but did it change your life? Did it change it? Yeah.
Did it? I'm not sure. Oh, I know what I did after. So, because for years and years I've been like, okay, I want to try sex with cis guys, with the penis thing, whatever you want to call it. But no, I need to wait, because I've been waiting such a long time. I already started waiting when I was a child because of the whole religious thing. Then I was a lesbian, not allowing myself. Now it's so special. I've waited so long. I need to do something special. What can I do? What would be super special? Or, this might be worth a lot of money. A virgin that's so old, could I like get super amounts of money to sell my virginity? No. I will do something more special. I will make a film. And then I thought about it from the last few years, so I wouldn't let myself try it, because I was waiting for this film. And then I was like, maybe I'll call it The 40-Year-Old Virgin. I have to wait till I'm 40. Oh my god, it's such a long time. And then I was like, no, I'm just going to change that name and do it earlier. So what I did, how it changed my life, was after the film and the failure, if you want to call it that, then I could just go out and go on Gay Romeo and be like, hey, come over right now. Like, I think that the month after the film, I had like, I don't know how many sex dates to like, just, yeah, because I was free to finally, I didn't have to save it for the film anymore. I didn't save it for the film. What are you talking about?
Didn't you meet with twice?
After the, oh yeah.
Got
I forgot that. There's, oh yeah, I wish that Bishop was here, because then we could do it like, we have an announcement to make. 1 year after the shooting of the 36-Year-Old Virgin, we met again, and then we didn't. It's not on camera.
How many times did you share this video?
How many times did I share it? Like screen it in festivals and things?
Yeah, of course.
I think maybe about, it's been at about 10 festivals now or so.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
And it's going to Japan next.
I think that's the next one, yeah, Copenhagen. It's, I think I'm allowed to say now, it's nominated for the Lily Umpa Award in Copenhagen.
Awesome.
And where did it just go?
Tunisia, Chipchihana Feminist Festival.
Nice.
Well, we have 2 more questions, one question. Fred?
The folks who interviewed, were those friends or did they volunteer? How?
Yeah.
They're really awesome.
That was, so it was originally, good question, because it was originally like not into my thought in plan of the film. I was just like, okay, I gotta go find a guy and see who's gonna have sex with me. And then I was telling all my friends about it and getting excited and like, guess what I'm doing? And then I was talking to my roommate on the couch one day, and I was like, so, but tell me about your first time. And then she told me this super interesting story about her first time when she was like a teenager. And I was like, oh my God, it would be so great to have that also in the film somehow. And then it brought me to the idea, hey, why not make this kind of more of a community film and a community feeling? And then I started asking people who I knew, they weren't necessarily close friends, but people who I knew would be willing to talk about that on camera. If I was pretty sure, like, that's a person I could imagine talking about sex on camera, then I went to them and asked, hey, would you like to be interviewed for the film? But I knew them all to some extent, yeah. And, oh yeah, I think I also had sex with one of the interviewees later. Walter, the guy with pink hair. Should I be saying this?
Next question. We've been really long.
There's a question here.
Oh,
I was just saying, thinking, when you were casting for the person that you were going to have sex with, was it a large call out, or you were just looking for friends, or? And then did anybody ever express about you being with a person of color or a hot black guy, which seems a bit of a cliche?
Yeah, if that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, if anybody had ever asked you, would you be seen as, you know,
Yeah,
choosing this
yeah,
frame, this person, this, like I said, as this
yeah,
hot black guy.
yes,
You
yeah.
know, that seems to me like, I mean, I don't know you, but I just thought maybe, were there other people that you interviewed that
That
were
I
not
interviewed.
hot
Yeah,
black guys?
yeah.
You
No,
know?
I really, yeah, thank you for the question. I didn't, I basically only asked people that I knew and people who had done sex on screen before, or people that I felt comfortable with. So I asked 3 people in total, all just by word of mouth. The first one was a good friend of mine, and he was like, no. And the second one was also a good friend of mine, and he was also like, no. So then I thought, like, okay, I have to stop asking the friends, and because clearly it's just crossing a boundary or something like that. And then I asked around a few people that said, like, hey, I would like to do this project, and I told them about it, and I said, do you recommend anyone? And Bishop was the first person who was recommended to me because of his experience in porn, and because he'd been with trans lovers before, like trans masculine lovers, so people, the main person, I think 2 people recommended to me, get Bishop, he would be great. He's super sweet, he's got great trans politics, and he's done a lot of porn, so he's comfortable on camera.
That would have been great to include that part as well, the background on Bishop, then to kind of make it less, you know, like I said, of a
Yeah,
perpetuated myth.
right. Yeah. So you mean like a bit more background about why Bishop was chosen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah. Anything else?
so do we have time for another question?
Here's one.
Okay, yeah.
I would like to say thanks because I consider what you did as an act of courage, and that helps me. And I also consider this emotional exhibitionist phrase something like a language tool that also helps me. And I think it might be fruitful to ask you, in case you want to share, if you feel vulnerable now at this moment.
Do I feel vulnerable now at this moment? Yeah, I do. I think I do because I feel my hands shaking a little bit, and my knees are also shaking back and forth a little bit. That's probably a sign of vulnerability. But yeah, and it is like a little bit frightening to face an audience of people and expose something so so personal, and every time I do watch it again, I do think about like should I have shown that scene? Should I have edited it a bit differently? Should I have done this? Yeah, there's I think the more that I see it, the more that I keep seeing it in different ways. So yeah, I do feel a little bit vulnerable, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that as much as I can be, and yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about because like my first film also, like someone mentioned, was also kind of a vulnerable film in a way, not as vulnerable as this one, but it had a certain vulnerability to it, and I think I'm just going more and more in that direction. So like I'm used to making these kind of, I guess I got to start in these kind of sexual movies or something to do with sex, but I would really like to make my next film about my parents, and they were killed together in a car accident about 8 months ago, and I was just like, well, you know, I'm used to putting things in porn film festivals or queer film festivals. I don't really know anything else so far, but I'm really like, yeah, I'm an emotional exhibitionist. I will say it again and again, and so yeah, so that's kind of like my next plan, to try and make something like maybe sort of a film about having conversations with people. I don't know, I don't have a total exact idea yet, but something to do with death and grieving, and my mom was a hairdresser, and we have a really great queer barber in town in Berlin who does this butch cut